Okay, welcome back to the Dialog channel. In this video, we're going to look at time date fields. Let's go. In this video, again, we're going to open up the Element Demos application because by now we know that's where we find all this stuff. If you haven't already, add it to your workspace from the App Store. And oh, by the way, everything in the App Store can be updated over time. So we add new, you'll see with releases, we add new things into the Element Demos application. So you can, delete the one on your system or make a copy of the one on your system, nice and easy. And add one from the App Store if you want, that sort of thing, for updated examples. Okay, time date. I'm going to click on time date right here. And you can see in my view that this is the time date demo document. I just created one here. You can see in the view, I'm showing date only, I'm showing date and time, and I'm showing date formatted as text. So we're going to get into those kind of things in the views as we go through the different types of columns that you can have in views. Just suffice it to say, in this one column, I actually have a date time in that column, and so that means if you were to sort it, it would sort that time according to like January, February, March, for example. Whereas if you formatted it as text, then the view only sees it as text. It doesn't necessarily see January in front of February or whatever, those kinds of things, okay? There's a whole bunch of functions around dates too. Dates are a very important type of piece of information, of course, in applications. But I'm just going to show you from a user interface point of view how easy it is to add to your form and the ways that you can use dates, just right out of the box. Okay. So you'll see in this date time form example that you can add. So there's different things. You can add something that's just a date picker. You can add something that is just a time picker, or something where you can select the date and the time together. Okay, that's what you'd want to do. And in this particular thing, so as we go through it, so the subject here, I'm just going to say ZZZ as a demo as we create a document from this form. So this particular field is a show the date picker field. So we've just put a field on here, and when you click on it, it shows a date picker. So this is just a date. So when you're picking from the date, from this calendar, you're picking just the date. So we see that there. When I click on it again, it looks at the field that it's tied to and puts you on that. So November 25th, for example, because that's what I picked. And then you have your controls in the top here. So you can select your month and you can select your year at the top. So nice and easy to select ahead or select behind, for example, if you need to. The next field shows the date and time picker. So this, of course, allows you to pick the date and the time. And so, of course, you can scroll up or down on the time. They're 15-minute intervals, and the date picker is the same as what I just showed you. So it makes it easy to pick, the time and date. So you get it shown like this, where you get the date and the time and AM, PM, for example. And then this is just a time picker. Notice that my fields are kind of wide for this, for example. So you can make it 80 pixels or whatever. It doesn't really matter. I just didn't pay attention when I just did this field. I just made it whatever the default is. But of course, the time picker allows you then to just show the time picker dialog, and that's the only component that you see and that you choose from. And just to show that here's a computed field, here's computed for display field, computed when composed fields. So I got two computed for composed. One is just the date, one is the date and the time, okay? Which can be very important for things. In every single case, though, these fields are containing, for the more hardcore developers out there, the date, the actual date object is tied to those fields. So although you're only seeing the date, for example, and not the time. It is the whole actual, from a technical point of view, you'll be able to use different formulas on those fields as if it was the full date time object in the background. Okay, enough of that. Okay, let's go and see how hard it is to add a date to a form. So I'm just going to go into the app builder and find this form. And what would this form be called? Date? F-date? Can't remember what I called it. F-date, I did. Because maybe it would be F-time date. Oh, or F-time. Okay, so here is the form. And so what we do is we go over to our elements over here, and you'll notice that you can drag and drop the date component, a time component, or a date time component. All right, so let's just, for the fun of it, drag over the date, and we'll just drop it up here within the text up here at the top, and drop it and click on it. I can now, give it a name, so it's handled just like a field, just like the toggles and the sliders and everything else is, and this becomes the idea of the control. And this one, by default, is a date-only display. So if you look at the properties in the options here, it's date only. So when you drag and drop each of those, they have their own default. But if you're like, oh, I meant to, make this just time, or I meant to make this time and date, then you can change the option for it right here. So it's not so hard if you drag and drop the wrong one, just to flip it over, right? Is this a required field? So just the same as like text fields and stuff. You can say what the width of it is, whatever you need to make it look nice on your form. You can give it a default value, and so forth. And that's really it. You can add in a date. It's really easy to just drag in a date field, date time field, or just a time field. Really easy to add to your forms. You're going to be doing it in applications for sure. Almost every application has a date on it somewhere. Just to show you how easy it is with DocOva to facilitate all of that really easily. Another thing that makes DocOva head and shoulders above everybody else is just so easy to manage that. All right, so that's it for this video. Nice and short and sweet. Thanks for joining me. Hopefully you've subscribed already. If not, subscribe. Hit the notification button, hit the like or dislike. Hopefully you liked it. And at the same time, leave a comment or a question below. And if it's a question, we'll get to it as soon as we can. Thanks for joining me.